everybody. It's Heather with the Leadership with Heart podcast, and I am so excited today to have Eric Elkins on the show. So Eric was, of course, he's introduced to me by one of my besties, Sarah Elkins, who also has her own podcast. And I've always been watching you from afar, so I always wanted to have you on the show. But when she reminded me, I was like, "Oh, amazing! I cannot wait to hear more about how you lead with heart, share all of your glorious, wonderful you-ness with everybody else who's listening." So, welcome, Eric.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Heather.
So tell everybody right now, where are you in your leadership journey?
Always growing, always learning. Better leader than I was 10 years ago, better leader than I was probably 3 years ago. Still on my way to becoming even more open-hearted and effective, and finding that balance between setting boundaries and setting what's expected and what's needed, and still doing that with love and with support. And it's always been, I learned the hard way that as a business owner and as a leader, it's better to be a coach than a taskmaster. And so just finding more ways to be a better coach, I think, but still kind of keeping things moving forward and keeping people growing the way they need to be is kind of always that give and take, I think.
Oh, and you're an entrepreneur. So tell everybody what you're doing right now. What's your business?
Yeah, I own Wide Focus Social Media, where we are a social media consulting agency with remote workers around the country, based in Denver, but we work with clients just about everywhere. And we help companies manage their social media to drive more results. So we manage their content, we do ongoing monitoring and customer service monitoring and feedback and comments and all that to make sure that in real time their social channels are engaging. And then we use paid social campaigns to really drive up the results that they're looking for, from qualified website traffic, e-commerce on the B2B side, thought leadership, and growing more awareness and new leads. So really trying to make social media something that's revenue positive for our clients. And because of the way our work works, we have people who are really focused every day on helping our clients get better and better, with pretty tight deadlines and a lot of churn in the content writing and the things that they need to do. There's not a lot of structure, but there's a lot of accountability. So one of the biggest challenges is always helping people understand how to manage their time so that they can get the things done when they're supposed to get done.
Oh, that's awesome. And of course, when I saw you last, you and your entire staff were doing a retreat and having training on StrengthsFinder, which I thought was amazing, that you were doing that, and even at your house, actually, which was like, a lot of people want to separate their person, like who they are, from the leadership or how they show up like at work. And so I appreciated that yours was so homey and so welcoming with your team right there on the spot.
Oh, it was the most amazing thing, Heather. We've never had the whole team together. Like, we got rid of the office in March of 2020. So a lot of members of this team we hired remote and have never seen in person. And they all came out for we flew them all out for a 15-year anniversary party, which was the night before. And then we're like, what are we going to do on Friday to really make it impactful? And we met at a coffee shop where I started the company, and everybody worked from there together for a few hours, which was just so cool. And then Sarah came and ran StrengthsFinder at the house. We ordered in lunch, and just the chance to kind of bond and create some more personal interactions and engagement really helped the team come together, and we're still riding that wave. So it was wonderful to have everybody there. Got lots of hugs and lots of person-to-person connection.
I'm thinking about all the folks are like, well, how do you keep people engaged remotely? And how do you, keep the connected, all the things like the how to house. And I'm just like, it requires more intentionality, which is exactly what you did, bringing people out, doing these particular things that kind of create an experience that, like you said, you're still riding the wave, and you're thinking, okay, when's the next time we're going to do that? Because the more you keep the connection, the more, you're going to retain people, because they don't want to leave their friends. They don't want to leave their family. And that's kind of what you have created, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It is harder to do remote. We've worked really hard to create a corporate culture or a team culture that works even when we're far away from each other, sending gifts to each other, and doing lunch and learns where everybody gets a Grubhub gift certificate, and having members of the team share a passion over the course of a Friday afternoon meeting. But all that is wonderful, and it's worked really well. But to have people sitting around my kitchen table or my dining room table and really coming to terms with who they are and how they communicate, and just having that time together made a huge impact. And we were like, we're not going to wait till the next big anniversary. We're going to do this every year, and maybe even more than that.
Oh, I love that so much. I think that's brilliant thinking, and I think we have to have more leaders being more intentional in that way. I think that's the key. So I'm curious to know where did your drive to lead come from? Because you've been doing this for a while now. Where did it actually come from? Did it stem from someplace?
I think I've always fallen into leadership roles, just from more from pure competence, I think, than anything. Like if I'm good at something, if I was good at something, I'd generally move more into a leadership role or start something and have people kind of come along on the ride with me. This, back in 2007, when I started this company, it was really about me just wanting to be independent and do my own thing and not have to answer to a lot of other people. And I had never done that before. And so when I got busy enough where I needed more help, became the de facto leader, and so had to learn how to do that on the fly. But it wasn't like I purposely set out to be a leader. It was more like, I want to do this thing, and if I'm going to be successful, I'm going to need more help. And then I had to learn all along the way how to get that more help to feel engaged and secure and wanting to help grow the company and feeling fulfilled in what they're doing. So it wasn't like I set out to be a leader. It just kind of happened that way.
That's awesome. Well, so for those who are listening now, do you have a time when that you can think of that maybe you weren't as like emotionally intelligent? You weren't as somebody who was aware and really trying to like bring the team along. You just maybe weren't the leader with heart that you are today. And of course, I always say like none of us are perfect. We're all on a journey. So I'm just saying like maybe there was a turning point that created more enlightenment in you. Can you think of a story?
Yeah, so there was a lot of that in the early days, especially as the team started to grow, and we had specific expectations for each member of the team. And um, there were a couple times where someone made a mistake and I got angry. And I'm not like, I'm not a yeller, you know what I mean? But I realized that my manner of communicating was much more tight, was much more like they could see the anger in my face, even if I wasn't frowning. The color of my skin changed. The way I was talking to them got very abrupt. But a very specific example is we are writers first. So everything that we do, everything we write is a reflection of our clients. So when we write Facebook posts and tweets and Instagram posts, if there's something that's inaccurate, or if the writing is, if there's a misspelling, if there's a typo, if there's something awkward about it, yeah, it looks bad on us, but it looks even worse for our clients. And that's a place where we excel. So as a guy coming from the newspapers in the early days, I was the copy editor for every piece of content that went out. And I would get annoyed with having to make the same changes over and over and over again. And so I would get a little more curt, a little more brusque in my copy edits. I would redline the hell out of the document. And then my comments were like, you can't keep making this mistake, or wrong again. Like I would get frustrated and it would come out in that. And also we had a very small office. People could hear me like grunting, and they could see I was angry about something, and they would like get scared. And I don't feel like I'm a scary guy, but it got really intimidating for people. And there were people who were like, you can't talk to me like that. And I don't like the way you're editing my content. And at first I was like, too bad, get better. Like coming from the newspapers where the copy editors redlined everything and you just learned from it and moved on. I was working with especially younger people who hadn't ever really had criticism of their work done before. And what I realized through losing them or through my own frustration was, if they were going to learn and be better at their jobs and want to stay, I had to learn how to provide that guidance in a much friendlier way and really think about the way my copy edits and my comments were coming off to them. Little things, right? Like don't use a period at the end of a comment in a doc, because especially the Gen Zers, they don't use punctuation in their text messages to each other, right? Like a period means you're angry. So like learning how to do the little things to keep it open-ended, but also to really lead with compliments, and to spend more time saying, here's what you did really well, and I'm super happy about this. Here's where I need to see you improve. And creating that sandwich that my sister Karen, whom I know you've also met, really as an HR professional would say to me, you can't put that in an email. You need to call and talk this through. You can't write it that way. You have to say to this person, this is what I really appreciate about what you're doing. Here's where I need you to work harder, and then end it with another compliment, and just kind of build more collaboration and interaction in the way that I was providing that guidance and leadership, even down to editing with them next to me so I could show them where the errors were and why I was making the changes. And that led to a slow and steady growth on my part of learning to be more open-hearted and warm in the way that I led, and allowing people to make mistakes, and instead of getting angry about it, really showing them how to improve the work that they were doing, and in a way more as a coach rather than as a boss or a supervisor.
I love that. Oh, thanks so much for that. Because when as you were talking about that and being that kind of leader before, it makes me think of my and when I was practicing law. Well, I went to law school, then I left, and I was working for a really small firm in Boulder, and there was let's just say there was a leader who, if I didn't do a document, if I didn't write a brief right, she would cuss across the whole entire office at me. Really bad cuss words, just say. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like you said, so every time I'd hand it in, I'd be like, oh gosh, I wonder if she's going to cuss at me again. So like having that fear and being like, it's something that repels people versus, magnetic brings them towards you. And then you making a choice that says, I'm going to change the way I lead, that then makes it magnetic, where people want to be around you because they see that you're interested in helping them. And I love Karen's idea, that the idea of sandwiching, I like it, but what I like even more that she brings out is the fact that we need to do it by the phone, because otherwise it feels more contrived if it's in an email. People do the sandwich effect, and people are like, okay, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I know you're going to give me something positive. But if you're talking it through, they hear your voice, so they can hear the concern, they can hear the being genuine. So it makes a huge difference. I mean, I think that advice is brilliant. We do need to do more things via phone. We have gotten so carried away. I am telling you, I'm the text message queen. With 4 kids, I'm like,
yeah, but we hide behind text, right?
we do.
Like, it's a lot easier to have a difficult conversation via email or text.
Yes.
But it's not nearly as effective. And I hate talking on the phone. Zoom has been nice because you can say, let's get a Zoom call, and then it feels a little more engaging. But yeah, she was often like, pick up the phone, stupid. And I'm like, so
I love that. Yeah, that's awesome. That's great advice. Okay, so for those who are listening, because that was already so good, that just that part right there might sound basic, but it's not something that we do in a common way, and we need to do more of it. So now it's your turn. The kind of tables are turning, and now you get to ask me anything. So what do you have on your mind? What would you like to ask me?
One of the things that I've been really focused on for the new year, and I've been working with our business advisor on it, and thinking a lot about the potentials here is, and this is kind of interesting because it's concrete and squishy at the same time. So team retention is at the top of my mind, because I want people to stay and grow with the company. There's not a lot of upward mobility yet, but as we keep growing, there are more opportunities for them. We've always talked about a bonus and incentive structure that's performance-based, that's also based on our margins and profit. And we're working on that. But I'm curious from your experience, like, what are the intangibles when it comes to incentivizing people to stay and grow? Like, and if it's a hybrid of, it's bonus plus this, like, we're trying to find those ways to keep professional development moving forward. And I thought you might have some thoughts on retention, especially now with a tight labor market and everything else that's going on.
Yeah, here's kind of the number one piece of advice I'd give, and that would be to find out what it is that motivates each person individually. Like, what is it that makes them want to jump out of bed to get to that computer in their kitchen or wherever it's at, right? What is it because then what you do is, especially with a team as small as yours too, then you can kind of orchestrate more of those moments for them. That it means more to them versus trying to cookie cut this retention thing. I think bonus is important for those who are motivated by money, or who I just might need more because they have killed kids or whatever it is, right? I think that's the key. But I think you don't get to any of that until you spend time with them individually, asking them, like, what is it that gets you just so pumped about the job you do? What is it that makes you so happy that you're with this organization? And what are the things that drive you bonkers? Those are the things that don't make you want to press snooze and you do not want to be doing. I mean, I think those are the kind of conversations, and the willingness to hear the hard things in that conversation is going to make all the difference. Um,
Yeah.
and then I
Oh,
think lastly is just listening and including them, including their voices more in any changes that you want to get done instead of it being like a singular decision, which I doubt with the way you are, it's singular anyway, but just being more inclusive in the decision making so that people feel like they're on this journey with you instead of things are happening to you.
yeah. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I like it. So one of the things I do is walk and talks. Well, we used to walk and talk. Now it's Zoom walk and talks with
Yeah.
it. And I have it with every single member of the team every month. And I always ask, how can I help you? As like part of that, make sure that in the conversation about what's going on for them, that I put it out there that I'm also available to help out. And
Mm,
I like that also, I should say more of what's going to make you happier in this job, or what's really challenging for you right now that makes you not love what you're doing, and kind of they know that they can be open and honest with me. So I like your idea of getting closer and closer, and maybe even taking some notes to make sure I really understand each person, to see what motivates them on a more personal and fulfilling emotional level.
absolutely. Because we all have that desire, right? To like press the button, like to say, oh, it's Tuesday or whatever. And it's usually like a thing or a process or something that we are doing in that day that's dragging us down. But then there are the other things that make us excited. I think it
Mhm.
goes hand in hand with the work you do with Sarah on the strength stuff too.
Oh,
It
totally.
really does.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. It's good stuff overarchingly. So for
Yeah.
those who are listening right now, what kind of because you've been in a leadership role, you've been an entrepreneur, you've been at this business thing for a while. What might be a couple pearls of wisdom you would leave them with as they think about their leadership, their journey, really no matter where they are on the journey? What would be those pearls from you?
For me, the biggest thing was to learn how to listen, not with the idea of that what I'm going to respond, how I'm responding, but to actually really listen, for whether it's a client or an employee, what they really need from the questions they're asking. Because I think sometimes we're either just trying to solve the problem without really understanding it, and other times I think we're not listening to the full need of what the person is asking us. So to your point, like especially with after we went through the strengths finders session with Sarah, and really learning about what motivates everybody, and what their strengths are, and how that informs their communication styles, and how that informs their performance. Like there were some big eye openers in that. And what I'm finding now is when we're using that language, and then instead of me asking a question, them answering, and me just sort of being ready with a response, to really listen and probe and ask some more questions has made a huge difference in my ability to be a good leader. Because to your point, like if you don't know what motivates people, you could be providing them with all the wrong incentives and motivations to keep going. So that's a big one. I think another one is we've really owned our communication style internally as open, honest, and direct. And so those hard conversations are a lot easier because everybody trusts that you're being transparent in the way that you're providing guidance. I'm super open about our financials. I talk a lot about where we're struggling and where we're doing well, and talk about why things matter, why the margins matter, why people need to work within their budgeted hours, and what the effect is on the rest of the team when they don't. But also really showing them, hey, here's my responsibility in how this works, and here's where I messed up, but also here's where we can all do better. And so taking accountability for my mistakes in that open and honest and direct communication has allowed for us to I'll have one of our community managers or one of our leadership people say to me, hey, I wasn't comfortable with the way that you talked about this, or you cut me off when we were talking to the client, or I feel like you kneecapped me when I was trying to make a point and you interrupted. And I'm like, I love that they can tell me that, because instead of getting defensive, I can say, oh, I totally did that. I apologize. Here's how I'm going to make sure it doesn't happen again. And it just builds a lot of trust within our organization. And that's probably the most transformative thing that I've really pulled in and really worked on. Both, it was always something on the personal side as a single dad and going out there dating and trying to figure out how to communicate. But as a business owner, to remember that these are all just people, and they all have their motivations, and they all have their issues that are going on at home, and they have, much bigger lives than what's happening at work. And
Mhm.
so being able to create a close personal connection and build trust through that open, honest, and direct communication is really what keeps people around, because they love the team and they love being able to communicate that way.
That's beautiful. So this idea of, well, obviously learning how to listen well so that you're really seeking and it's fruitful and that you're getting what you need to get from the person, that you're not acting on something that's false or that's assumed, but that's actually gotten by real listening. And then
Mhm.
secondly, really just, I think in the end, being the person who is open and willing to admit mistakes, being human in your own right, taking advice from your people, not being above their feedback. All of these things are so dang critical for the person who's on that journey to leadership with heart, to becoming a caring leader. So super, super helpful. I really appreciate you. I'm so glad that we had you on the show, Eric. I'm glad I said, oh yeah, let's bring him on.
Yeah, no, I think it's easy to get defensive, right? And I've had to learn not to get defensive. Like my hackles raise when I get criticism, especially from a teammate, I'm like, but I've been doing this for 15 years is the first thing I'm thinking. And then I have to like put all that aside and really listen and say, oh no, I actually really screwed that up. Or if I feel like maybe it was warranted, still taking responsibility for the way it made the other person feel and for the way I handled it, and talking clearly about how to make it better. Just instead of coming through with, well, I'm right and you're wrong, just really understanding their point of view and taking that guidance as a real gift.
Mm. Ooh, guidance is a gift. I love that. That might actually be the title of this podcast episode. So we might be doing that. I love that.
Awesome.
It is. So for those who are listening right now, if you found a lot of value in my conversation with Eric, because it's been really good and lots of great nuggets, very specific takeaways you can do, please do share it far and wide. That's exactly what we're here for, right? Is to make each other better and help each other on this journey in leadership. Leadership is not for the faint of heart. It is not for everyone. It's not to be taken lightly. There's a lot of responsibility, but like you said, it's a gift to others. And so I appreciate you, Eric. I really appreciate you being on here, and just thank you for saying yes to the invitation.
Oh, thanks so much for the invitation. It's wonderful. I always enjoy our time together. So to be able to share our stories professionally is just like one more really awesome thing.
Thanks everybody for listening to Leadership with Heart podcast. Be well.